Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. And I have Miss Linda G here. Very excited to have you. How you doing, Linda?
I'm going good. And you made this appointment with us for a collab a while ago.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
big
You're a
invitation.
busy lady.
I am honored. I am honored. There's so
Well,
many cool people out there. A lot of new teachers in the works.
yes, absolutely. And that's the beauty of it because, people, I always share with people that want to start a channel or looking to start a channel that, just go out and do it
Just do it.
because there's someone out there for everyone.
Right.
And it may take a little time before you find your tribe, your vibe, but it's good practice. When I first started YouTube, it was an experiment for me,
Yeah.
and I just did it to kind of get over myself, really. Like you say all the time, to get out of your own way.
Get
So
out of your own way. Yeah.
I just started practicing that, and so
They
yeah.
that man spoke in my ear and said you're gonna start a YouTube channel. And I'm like, what? I don't want, hey Ron, hi you guys.
Hey, everybody.
I didn't want to I was like, you must be crazy because I don't get up and brush my hair. And they said, Linda, you'll help calm people down. And I do it. I've done it on the phone a couple of times, but when I was at work at Angel Heart, I used to do it on the phone. But mostly I'm just sitting in front of my computer.
Yeah, yeah. So
And
true.
it seems a lot of people seem to be very happy with it. So
Well, there you go. You're proven success.
well, I don't dabble into UFOs very much.
Hmm.
And I'm kind of getting interested because I had a guest on my show, Thomas Moore.
Yes, I haven't watched that yet, and I've heard amazing things about that. So I really want to check that
Well,
out.
he gets into ETs, and there's a show with an ex FBI agent. I think it's on the Travel Channel, and it's intense. I was surprised because some of them ancient aliens. But this was intense, and it's interesting. What it wasn't the Palladians; it's the blue ones, the ones in the triangular black
Is
ships,
that the Lumerians?
Lumerians,
Hmm.
and they had a guy who talks to them, and they put him kind of under, and they put these EEGs on his brain, and they asked him a few questions, but they wanted to know why are they being seen so much now? They're everywhere now.
Oh,
During the
interesting.
daytime, they're being seen. And they said because the human vibrational rate has gone higher. I totally believe that. When I heard that,
Um,
I said yes.
yeah, I
Because
can see
there are
that.
some people on these UFO shows that say they're taking our DNA, make it, and then they're going to take over us. That's bull. I don't see that.
No, I don't see that
But
either.
Tom told me that there was a 27,000 year UFO like intergalactic war. 27,000 years it lasted.
Interesting.
And now they're at
Wow.
peace. Yeah.
That is so fascinating. I just want to say hello to everyone. Normally I call out names, but there's so many people in here. I'm just giving you a big hug like this. Thank you all for being here. And don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And I'm not even going to say, make sure you subscribe to Linda because I know everybody is.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Right. You guys rock. So
But I
got
put,
my mom, we got Gina, we got Secrets of the Red Moon,
that's Dean and
Lisa,
Heather in here. Yeah.
a lot of my people's right here.
Kevin, big hugs, everybody. Thank you for joining us
Kevin
today.
Loving's vibration. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yes.
No, you're so chillaxed, girlfriend. Your energy is so calm.
Oh, thank you. I wasn't calm earlier because I was
Oh,
dealing with my daughter's college tuition. And it was
oh,
like, but yes, thank you. For the most part, I like to have a laid back, chilled energy. And I think I've come a long way, let's put it that way, compared with my spiritual journey. And that's one of the reasons why I want to have you on, because people's spiritual journey always fascinates me, what people have experienced and what they've gone through. And when would you say was like, would you say that you started really young with your spiritual path, or was it more later on in life that you
well,
really?
believe it or not, when I was young, well, my parents were atheists. Then I had a very unique encounter with Jesus of Nazareth, saw him in full living color. It wasn't a dream because I was out of my body. And I was on the other side. And I'll tell you, the colors were bright. There was even like a little breeze hitting my face I could feel. And there was this vibrational hum. And I often thought it was angels, but they say the higher realm you go, the more vibrational hum there is. And that you can't even call out the angels' names if you don't speak angelic form, because their voice box is totally different than ours.
Wow.
So it was so interesting. But anyway, and when I was young, I used to feel energy forms were watching me. When I was in school, I could feel them sitting over on the side just watching me. I always felt like I had an audience. I always thought I was Hollywood. So then, my life wasn't all that great. I can't, it was pretty tough. But sometimes in that toughest is where we evolve even more.
Yes, for sure.
And I have no regrets about anything. And I was a reader, and I was good, but not, not as good as I am now. But I did it, and I was kind of a show off and a clown, and it was ego based. And then when I went through cancer is when my whole life turned around, and I begged for my life. I said, please don't let me die, because my boys were still young.
Yes.
And the guides, the man that was talking to me said, what are you doing? You know there's no such thing as death. I was like, oh my God, because I was an ER nurse, L&D nurse. I saw a lot of death. And I said, oh my gosh, you're right. And I actually got embarrassed, and I handed my life over, like, into thy hands I commenced my spirit. And in that moment, there was like this huge breeze. I'm writing about it in my book, but boom, I got hit with something, and they said, thy will be done. I was vibrating for 2 days. I couldn't sleep, eat. If I can't eat, something's up. And
that would be my case too.
I couldn't get the smell of the fresh earth off my hands. Like that first rain, that beautiful smell. I couldn't get that off my hands. Later on, I talked to some tribal members who told me the earth smell is a sign of healing. Maybe I had a spontaneous healing at that point. But all I know is then I start reading at this little place called Angel Heart. No hair, no boobs, and no ego. And I sat down, and that's when it started to happen.
Wow.
I was overwhelmed.
That is amazing.
It's wonderful.
What would you say? How do you keep yourself grounded and centered each day? Do you have, is there a morning routine or practice that you do?
Well, life will happen. But you guys, I don't know if you guys know our friend on here named David C. He's a Virgo like me, walking along with his dog. He just fell. He's going to have his arm have surgery, broke his elbow.
Oh, no.
Smashed his face so hard, broke his nose, and he was on blood thinner. So the nose just starts draining of blood. He's thinking, I'm going to die. Fortunately, he's in the hospital. He's going to be okay. They're going to do surgery tomorrow. And I said, this is interesting, because what is the message from spirit? Because I've had things happen to me. And I want to know. I know why the cancer came. So I would shut up and listen. So sometimes if we're too much in the realm of the earth, like we're too much thinking, like you said, I tell people, get out of their own way.
Right.
Because that which is likened to itself is drawn. You cannot create what you're not. If you want happiness and the love of your life, that's all good if you send it out there. But where is the attraction, the vibrational attraction? How does it come to you? Unless you truly, from your heart center, which is where everything's located, the kingdom of heaven is within. The heart center creates that well-being. And so my advice is, I know this sounds crazy. Okay, I just went through an ex-husband that was living here for 6 years, not paying a dime.
Yeah.
And I finally got rid of him because I couldn't, I felt sorry for him. But my kids were disturbed, Mom, he needs to go because he's a grouch. So I finally did that. But there was stress with it. And I was feeling those old feelings, because normally I'm walking around like I'm high, but I'm not. But because I'm happy, because I'm in the realm.
Yes.
So I had to put myself back into that place. I have to breathe. The breathing really helps. 3 deep breaths. And then hand it over. It's almost like you're picking something up. I even picked him up and handed him over to God and said, take
Yeah.
care of him. Help him find his way.
I love that. I am a big Abraham Hicks fan, and actually, my teachings, the coaching that I do is based on Abraham Hicks. So one of the processes that I use, it's called what is it? Giving it to the manager, or giving it over to the manager. I probably have the title of it wrong, but it's exactly that. It's like, if there's something in your life that's just so heavy, obviously we have to take action steps towards the things that we need to do. But there's a certain point that you get to where it's going to be completely out of your hands. But what we have that tendency to do is just grasp onto it and not want to let go because we want to control. And there's this resistance that we create.
Right. And Eckhart Tolle talks about that.
Yes.
Resistance. That's how mankind lives. Why do you think in this century we're still creating resistance with wars and this, and my opinion counts, yours doesn't? That state of resistance prevents you from getting what you need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's in our best interest, like you said, take those deep breaths and just let it go. And as I like to say,
I met her, in fact, out here in San Rafael, when Jerry was still alive.
Oh, wow.
And I used to listen to her when she would talk about picking up the stick. Pick up the stick and see what feels right. And I was married to my third husband, whatchamacallit, may he rest in pieces. Anyway, I was married to my third husband, and right when I started practicing her, the marriage fell apart. He was actually having an affair.
Oh, my.
But he did me a favor. And, you know, she said, sometimes when you start into this, and this is like the Tao, the system, that's what Eckhart Tolle talks, be in the realm. Don't be tripping on the little stuff.
Yeah.
But when you start allowing or giving yourself over to the other side, sometimes we get conflicts and people will leave our lives. But remember, that's all part of the game plan. There's always a reason for it.
Absolutely.
Because of what happened with him, I got catapulted into another thing and another thing, but it worked out beautifully.
Love it. And that's the other thing that I always share with people is that we get so focused too on how things are going to happen. You know, we have in our mind like, oh, this is going to happen, and that. Just focus on the outcome. What's the outcome that you want? Focus on that, not the hows, because that's where we build all that resistance and we get all messed up and messing things up. And once we let that go and focusing on the outcome, things will, you know, fall into place. And usually it's in a way that we don't even imagine. Right. And sometimes there's blessings along the way. So allowing ourselves to be in that space to accept whatever comes through, and knowing that, I like this, Chris Wickens said, we all want to compartmentalize and contain.
Right. But there's always the story of us. We as humans need to identify with family, with our culture, etc. So I don't necessarily say focus on the outcomes, because the outcome is still out there. Everything you need is right here. So what I do is focus on the here and now, because Eckhart Tolle says you can go to psychiatrists and you can have them type up your story and it can be a big old book about your story. But at the end of the day, that's not what counts. What counts is what's in here.
No, absolutely, because the present moment is all we have. So focus is not really the word then I'm really looking for. Like, you can imagine and decide on the outcome that you want, you want to create, not to necessarily, and that's what I mean by focus, like put it into words of what it is that you want. You can imagine it, but you have to allow yourself to be open, and you're not going to stay there because you want to be in the present moment.
Exactly.
And Kevin says, we want to control an outcome so strongly, we are blocking what we are attracting a lot of times, or what we want to attract.
You know, Jeff Bridges just went through cancer, and he was talking to some people about it, what happened. And he was so funny because he says, I don't know, man. I just told the doctors, I just want to be present. Like, he didn't want to get involved in the details of how they were going to fight this cancer, because he just wanted to be present.
In the present moment.
That guy's been listening to some doubt.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other thing is one of the greatest sins on earth, if you can consider a sin on earth, is taking away somebody's free will. That even includes parents. Parents will sometimes think that they should be able to tell their children in their 30s and 40s what to do. We take on a certain job when we think it's our duty to handle people a certain way, when really you always have to allow people their free will. Some of the best parents are the ones that say, hey, you know, I read this family and their daughter really wanted to be an actress, and the family was very wealthy. But no, by God, she needs to go to college and she needs to get a vocation. You know, they're thinking of her future. They're doing it out of love. But I said, you know what? You guys have the money. So let her do a year in San Francisco arts. Let her do something so at least she can bite into it and say she was able to try it.
Right. And not have that what if hanging over her. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's important. And that was a lesson that I had to learn as well, because the way I was raised is, you know, children are seen, not heard.
Not heard.
Yeah. So, I have a question here. Someone was wondering if, as a child, were you actually living with your Indigenous tribe?
No, I didn't really even get to know. My mom talked about taking me as an infant to the tribe. She was back in Lawton, where my Comanche tribe is located. And the medicine man, people were going up. They called her Abilene. Abilene. And so they saw me, and she said, the Indian, it's not the Indian, they don't like Indian. The indigenous worker did the sign of the cross on my forehead. And he said, she has the third eye. But she didn't believe in any of that. She didn't want to know. My mom could see ghostesses and everything. My mom was so psychic, but she just don't talk to her about it. She was scared to death.
Yeah.
She slept with a 22 by her bedside. One time a ghost came out of my brother's room and moved into my sister and my's room, and she was laid up. Girl, she grabbed that gun and went in there, and there was nothing there.
Wow.
So, you know, she's always had it, more so than me even. I don't see visual energy forms like she did. Before mom and dad died, before mom fell and was in her accident, their chairs were the feet were being brought up and the backs were down. Dad would come and his feet were up, and he's thinking, what was my wife looking for? He'd put the feet down, get his coffee, and then he would go. He was in a wheelchair. He'd go push. Because if he wasn't running, if he couldn't run, he'll push. And mom would get up, come out. And so between 8 when my dad left and 9 when my mom woke up, both those chairs were full, what they call supine position, legs up and back down.
Wow.
Wow. And they weren't even tripping, like, well, I don't know. What do you think that? I don't know. I'm like, I'm getting the hell out of here.
Oh, that's awesome. What would you say? What makes you excited? What gets you excited, Linda?
Oh, God. That's it. God. Just the love, just the beauty, just that when I read other people, I get to visit their descendants on the other side. You know, we don't eat over there, but maybe because I like food so much, but they're always showing me food. They're always showing me. I can tell who the good cook was in the family, and I can smell the food. And I'm like, it's so interesting that I always pick up food. But anyway, what gives me joy, actually, can I tell you, most of my life I was depressed. I never wanted to be here. I always fantasized about dying. And I can't tell you I was a happy person. I had 3 failed marriages, and you know, it takes 2. But I married for the wrong reasons. I was looking for something to fulfill me. It wasn't until I had cancer that it turned around, and oh my God, I can still have moments like with that ex-husband, shaky moments, things like my daughter got COVID. I was scared. And when I go to panic, my guide said, you need to practice what you preach.
Don't you hate that? I get that too.
I said, yeah, you're right. But I still, you know, we're human. And I always remind people, you have to mourn when they lose somebody. You have to mourn. But there's people like this girl I read, she was such a sweetie. And she had this wonderful man in her life. And she was talking about him. And I said, well, why don't you guys move forward? Well, he wants to. But, you know, 12 years ago, I got really hurt by someone. And I've never quite gotten over it. I said, so you're still giving him control over you.
Yeah.
He's still from wherever he's at, able to have power over you, that you've decided that you must be miserable because of what he did.
Yeah.
You're not allowed. And she said, I never looked at it that way. Hopefully she put down that sword and moved forward.
Wow. Well, I can totally understand with the whole depression thing. That's something that I have. I actually did try to take my own life when I was
yeah, I did a couple
when
of
I
times.
was 16. Yeah. So it's, for anybody that has experienced depression or anything like that, of course, the first thing you want to do is to get help if you're in that place, which I did. I was in therapy for many, many years. But then I got to the point in my life where I remember I going to the therapist and I'm talking to her, and I stopped and I was like, God, this is the same story over and over and over again. Like, I don't want to keep talking about this. I want to do something about it. I want to feel different. I want to experience something different. And I think that was kind of what kind of pushed me onto my spiritual path. Unfortunately for me, it happened much later in life. Right. But unfortunately, fortunately, because you never know, things happen when they're supposed to. Exactly. So it just was fantastic. I met a woman that actually started doing some coaching with me, and she used neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, that we focused on the exercises that she did with me. And I got to tell you, they were life-changing.
Isn't that amazing?
It was amazing. And then from there, that's what kind of sprung me and led me to doing plant medicine. And that just turned my world upside down.
So tell me about you. When were you awakened?
I was awakened probably I had my first ayahuasca experience maybe about 5 years ago. It was like right before that, I started having experiences with channeling a little bit. And it would come through when I do my oracle cards. But when I did the ayahuasca, it was like the first thing it did, it was like, we need to clean out this trauma that you've been holding on to for so long. So it literally took me, and I won't get into the details of it, but it helped to clear a lot of that stuff.
And you could physically feel it.
I could feel, did I ever physically? Oh. Physically, yes. And then after that, when I did my next ceremony, that's where they showed me that, the plant showed me that I was a healer, and that I had the ability to start working on people, and I could see things. It was because the medicine, really what it does, it's connecting to that subconscious, removing the ego so that you can really see what's going on.
That's hard to remove, my friend.
Exactly.
Everybody says, let go of my ego.
Yeah. And I think that was the beautiful part when I saw that. I could see people, and I could see what was going on with them. I could see their demons, right? And I could see what parts of them that needed healing, and it started opening me up. So really, I have to say that it was the plant medicine that really helped me to have that awakening to open up. And then, after that, I mean, I'm pretty much heading up to about 27 ceremonies now. I'm actually doing another one this weekend, but I just like it because it helps me to see what I need to work on next within myself.
Do you do it by yourself, or you do it with others?
No, with a group. It's a group contained, and I need to be in a container of someone that knows what they're doing. It's not for me. And I know there's some people that do it on their own, and bless them, but
right. I know my cousins do the ceremony with putting the things in their back, the sweat lodges.
Oh, yes. I haven't experienced that yet.
No, yeah. Not me.
Yeah.
If it don't got room service, I'm not going.
Well, I just had a friend that did a vision quest in New Mexico, and she went to the top of the mountain and sat there she was there for 4 days, 4 nights, and I'm waiting to hear about her experience.
Did she bring food or just water?
I believe they get a lot of water. There's no food. And
that's how the tribal members would do it. They would go, yeah. They send the young ones out, and they would just have to drink water.
Yeah. And all they get is a sleeping pad. Yeah. I said they just have a sleeping pad, and that's it.
Well, I wonder if they saw UFOs.
I don't know. I
I
can't
bet you they
wait
did.
to talk to
Mexico's
her.
filled with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm really
Oh, and
excited.
it's so hot up there.
I know. I can't even imagine what that was like during the day. I don't know. A part of me feels drawn to it a little bit, but I was like, I don't know, Spirit. We'll see. Come next year. It's only done once a year, so we'll
Okay.
check it out
Well, I
next year.
can't do it during hot times. I can do it during cold times. I'm better with
Hmm.
cold than I am with heat.
Yeah. So, hello to everyone that's coming in. We are having spiritual talk with Linda tonight. So, don't forget to hit the thumbs up while you're here. If you do have any questions for Linda, not questions, we're not doing any type of readings or anything like that, but questions about her or about spirituality, please feel free to put them in the chat. So Bridget would like to know, what's your take on writer's block?
Oh,
Spiritual
girl, I know
issue,
that one.
mental issue?
I know that
Yeah,
one.
because you're
Let me
working on
just
your
tell
book.
Wisdom of Blue Lotus. Write me at Grindel, GRINDEL 9103 @gmail.com, and I'll get you on that list.
That's
I
EQ.
need your name and your phone number. And your
That's EQ right there. My other soul sister half.
Oh, cool. So Bridget wants to know about writer's block. Let me tell you. So weird. I will tell you that my guides have told me to write this book. I've been writing almost 2 years now. And one day I told them, you know what? You know I'm not a writer, so why do you want me to write this book? You're going to have to help me out. So that night I went to sleep and I had a dream about someone that I read for, who's a very powerful person in the realm of being famous. And I wrote her and said, I had the weirdest dream about you. And next thing you know, her and I are chit-chatting. She said, boy, that dream was weird. And I started telling her about needing to do this book. I said, you know, my guides have told me about this book and I'm stuck. She said, I know exactly who you can go to. And then I met another woman who's helped me create and get through that writer's block. So what I can tell you is when it should come, it comes. Don't worry about that. Like, why don't I feel anything? Breathe, ask them for help. Ask them for whatever it is that you can get from them. Tell them you need their help and then be totally quiet. Be willing and able to receive the messages. Because when I go to sit down now, thank goodness I'm stopping readings at the end of this year because it does take a lot of my energy. Because I need to be quiet and sit down. I'll tell you, I read better in the winter months than I do in the summer months. I like the
you
rain.
like the cold.
Yeah. And fire and the fireplace. So yeah, I'm sorry about writer's block. I know a lot of people have different methods, but ask your higher self for help. And they do tend. Look what they did for me. They gave me that dream.
That's beautiful. Where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
Buried.
No, you don't.
Girl, I'm shocked I lived to be this old. I already have 2 stints in my heart. Hey, Freebird.
Debbie.
Hi, Deb. I don't say, what's my future? Not like when I was young and I would imagine myself accepting the Academy Award. I definitely have stepped out of ego now. So it's nothing to do with ego. It's nothing about more subscribers anymore. It's nothing about anything like that. All I want to do is be at peace and see my children be happy too.
Yeah.
So there is no focus as far as 10 years or even just getting through today is a blessing. So.
Right. Well, then let me rephrase the question. Is there something that you would like to do before you leave?
I'd like to get this book done.
Yes.
I'd like to get this book done and get it on the road.
Awesome.
And I'd like to get out of my double wide JCPenney's underwears. I want to get back to my petites. When I had guys come over, when I used to date, I'd have guys come over and I'd put a little tiny pair of petite underwears in the bathroom, hanging over the thing, and they'd come out and say, "Hey, where's your sister?"
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's interesting because I always look at I've been trying to allow myself, kind of like what you're saying. I just try to allow myself to be open and let spirit direct me which direction I'm supposed to be going. And that can be really difficult
Well,
to
especially
do.
with the duties of the day. And it sounds like you still have your children. I have a son that lives with me, and I take care of him. And we do have our duties we have to do, but we
Yeah.
sure can do it in a happy place.
Well, that's so true. I mean, the biggest step that I took was last year. I moved part-time into my full-time job, from my full-time job, so that I could step more into my spiritual services, and spirit lined that up for me to step right into
Perfectly.
that.
Perfectly.
Perfectly. I mean, it was a little uncomfortable, right? Because it's always a little uncomfortable sometimes when we're doing change and doing something that we have to change. But I still have moments sometimes where it gets a little nerve-wracking, and it's like, oh gosh, do I just go back to my full-time job, but
And just, yeah.
yeah, it gets a little scary, but I've said, you know what? You've
The only
trusted.
time being psychic was scary for me is when, before I was awakened, I was reading cards and reading for a lot of, I got word of mouth went out, and I was reading for a lot of people, San Francisco elites, people coming to pick me up with their driver, But I did that for money because I needed the money to go through nursing school.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a whole different game when you need the money. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird because I know a lot of people are readers, and they need to live off that money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird, sort of defining that, because I kind of needed the money. I say I'm a better reader when I don't worry about the money.
Yeah.
Because if you're always in fear of money, guess what? More of the same happens.
Yep.
And, most of the readers I talk to, and I don't know if this happens to you, but when we give it out there and say, I know you'll take care of it, they do.
Yep. They really do. They really do. And I had to change my programming around money as well, as opposed to being in that feeling of lack, in wondering, like, how am I going to do this and how am I going to do that? And versus trusting, like my daughter she's in her third year of college now. And
Congratulations.
thank you. And being a single parent at this moment, I mean, her father contributes in a different way, but it's really falling on me. And I had no idea how I was going to do the tuition. And a lot of it was based on her because she has great grades and got wonderful scholarships. But I told Spirit, I said, I don't know how I'm going to do this.
Thank you very much. Handle this.
I don't know what to do. I don't know how I'm going to get the money. And every time the bill comes, I'm like on pins and needles. And, but he provides, Spirit provides.
Yeah. And she's a little blessing. I don't know who she is, but I can feel it.
Oh, she's a force to be reckoned with. She has completely shut down her gifts. She doesn't want any part of it. She sees full on apparitions, and she has the gift of sight with that. But no,
like my son, my scientist son, who actually saw a ghost apparition in the kitchen one day, full force. And when he described him, I knew who it was. But bah humbug, he doesn't want to have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, yeah. So I told her, I said, when or if you're ready, that's for you to decide. That's your path to decide that. How do you manage stress, Linda?
Breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Breathe. And I still have, because I could be a spitfire. I was raised in a violent atmosphere. So when you got that anger going, I especially don't like anyone talking down to me. I can be as sweet as can be, but I will go cray on you. You talk trash to me.
I understand that.
My kids will sit there with their mouths wide open because I turn into a cray woman. Some guy walked out from the gas station looking down at his hands, and I was pulling in. Thank God I was going pretty slow. So I stepped on the brake, and he looks up. And he made some gesture. And I said, what are you doing? You didn't even look up. You're looking in your hands. And he's saying, you're going too fast. I said, you're no cop. Anyway, long story short, I went berserk. And the cops were called. And it was dropped. But still, I said, and the cop told him, you need to look up. You don't be looking in your hands. Look up and look both ways before you cross.
Mm-hmm. Good.
But
Good.
my son wouldn't even get out of the car. I'll have you know, I have a heart condition. And if you kill me, you and I'm the mother of these babies, you're going to be in trouble.
There you
I
go.
guess I tried to call them and get them, told the cops no, and they said, no, we're still coming.
Awesome.
Is it that crazy Comanche lady that lives out here? Is that who you was talking about? Because I can be crazy mean, but you know, but that's like my daughter too. My daughter had a real attitude. She's way calmer now. Nothing like having a baby makes these young ones, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh,
What is
definitely.
she identifying in? What does she want to do with her life?
Criminology, which really surprised
Isn't
me.
that interesting? She, you
Yeah.
know why? She probably would be real good at interpreting it.
Yeah, probably.
She'd
And
probably be a real good detective.
she got a job on the campus with the she had to be interviewed and everything, but she's going to be a teacher's aide in the criminology department. So I'm very, very proud of her.
I believe
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
She feels like she has her ducks in a row. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. She's coming along. You know, her issues, she suffers severely with anxiety. And,
almost every, I read people all over the world, over the world, Germany, Norway. And I've heard more often than not that their children have severe anxiety.
Yeah.
It must be too much information out there.
I like this. Connie B is asking, what can I do to calm my students down when they come into my class? Well, like Linda's saying with the breathing, Connie, I think that would be
and
good.
also maybe cut a big fat fart. And the kids will bust out laughing, and that takes all that energy right out the door. Just squirt one out real quick, like. And ask somebody, did you do that? And they'll be laughing so hard it just lightens up the whole room.
Oh, goodness. So guys, just so you know, for questions tonight is directed towards questions for Linda about her or about spirituality is what we're doing tonight. I know this one.
It's all about me, everybody.
I took this one here because I think it's a good one for different ways to work with kids.
Connie could even just say, okay, everybody, breathe. Get them to do 3 deep breaths. Let's just all breathe and chill.
Yeah.
And it helps.
Yeah. There was one thing I had wanted to say about the money, because I had posted, Debbie said, you know, healing with your money. And one of the healing things that I did, and I got this from a book from Ken Honda, The Japanese Art of is it making money? But it's called Happy Money is the short title of the book. But one of the sayings he does, and I do it every time I, you know, spend money when I'm out or when I'm doing my bills and I hit that button, you know, to send the payment, I say, thank you. I love you. Go and be happy and bring back more friends.
I love it. I love it.
And it's like this, I don't know, it's been very changing for me. It helps to release the stress of it all. And certainly I've seen the money coming in. I see it coming in. So and you know, you have your moments. Like I said, earlier today, I was looking at the financial part for the tuition and I was just like, and I had my moment. I had to try it out and go through everything. But I just said, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. Everything's going to work out. Yeah.
Your daughter's going to end up getting a real good job making fat money.
I think she will.
I think she will have good money.
Yeah. Good. She can pay her mama back.
She probably won't. You know, my son, when he was little, he'd say, Mama, can I have this game? Sure. Use the money Grandpa gave you for Christmas. Never mind.
Yeah.
Willing to spend my money, but not willing to spend his money. Some of these kids
every time.
Good. Yeah.
What do you feel have shifted for the collective since having all these political readers on YouTube beside keeping us calm?
Well, you know, I think watching the news overtaxes us, number one. I used to be a big fan of Rachel Maddow, but I've noticed lately, I don't know why she chose to do this direct, but have you noticed you're feeling really down after her show? Because she's going to the worst case scenario, and we have to have hope. You have to have some hope. Yeah. So there are some readers out there, people will write me, so-and-so said a nuclear bomb is going to explode on Tuesday. And I'm like, you know what? If you need to believe that, I'm sure they really think that. I'm not seeing it. So just breathe and relax. So I think the readers help people. A lot of our readers out here help people just, not, and there's a lot of good personalities, funny personalities. And it's like, all a big family. Yes. But yeah, and you notice we all kind of hit the same. I'll get something and other people are getting some. It's like someone will say, oh yeah, so-and-so said that. So every once in a while, somebody will say something that like, I'm going, what? But it can be very calming. People just want to know there's more to life out there. Yes. You just want a piece of that. Like knowing beyond a reasonable doubt. I have been proven beyond a reasonable doubt that there is no such thing as death. I mean, even something as simple as reading a lady across from me. I see her mother in my mind's eye. I said, I described her. She said, yes, that sounds just like my mother. And the lady said, her mother, tell her I can't find my left foot. I thought that's a weird statement. Being a nurse, I thought, she must have been a diabetic. So I went to say, was your mom a diabetic? And she said, no. Tell her, no. She was tell her I can't find my left foot. And I just said it. Your mom wants me to tell you she can't find her left foot. And she said, Linda, my mom died in a plane crash, and the only thing they found of her body was her left foot.
Oh my God.
Beyond a reasonable doubt. Well, I was reading a woman on the phone. My phone was across the room on my dresser, and her husband had died. She was a lovely lady, and we're reading, and I'm talking to the husband energetically, and all of a sudden, my phone starts to talk, and she heard it. I said, girl, did you hear that? My phone just started talking. I walked over. I made a screenshot of it, and it said, in our realm, anything is possible.
Wow.
Right there.
Wow.
So I know beyond a reasonable doubt, there is life after death. I know beyond So why are we tripping? Because you're always going to keep moving forward. All those people that died in Ukraine, I was so overwhelmed with grief. I was in grief with that. When my guy said there's going to be bloodshed, I saw children dying. I didn't want to see that, but they showed me the reality. And then they said, this is the beginning of the end of Putin, which, well, Putin's going to go away. I'm not, time frames are no good. But I also knew all those light energies, I saw them come up through their bodies, and they were all gathered together. So they all are part of this new agreement that happened. So they sacrificed their lives for the new beginning. There was an actual agreement.
Yes.
They say Jesus said, but, being that I'm not a Bible reader or Catholic, but it was told to me that Jesus said that he can heal others unless they have a agreement, unless they have some sort of past life agreement where they were supposed to get this disease. Some people come into this world and say, I'm going to die young. I'm going to have this terrible disease. I'm going to die of this. If they had those agreements, he couldn't do anything for them. Yeah. Which is interesting. So they had to live out their agreement. And then there's some that he could heal that didn't have such an agreement. Well, let me tell you, that cancer shocked that. I never expected I'd ever have cancer. Cancer didn't run in my family. But when I said to them, fair enough, if I need to go, I'll go. Into your hands, I commence my spirit. Boom, something happened to me beyond words. I can't begin to tell you. But I knew then and there, I must have had a spontaneous healing too. But I knew I had a purpose. I always felt I had a purpose, but it came on 1,000-fold. Yeah. And now it's like, listen to us.
What are your thoughts? I always love this topic because I think it's a really important one, and getting that message out to people of how important it is on forgiveness
Hmm. I did a little subject on that. As you know, I was raised by a father who was very violent. We were just little kids. He used to beat me bloody.
Mm.
You know, a grown man. He was only, let's see, my mom was 18, so he was 19, I think, when I was born. But he ran a strict house. He was funny as hell. He was nicer, actually, than my mom, except he was violent. And he'd beat you. If he come home, you know, you got the whipping and you'd have hematomas coming all down your back and legs. One time, the dean of girls, when I was in high school, he whipped me. And they pulled me in and they were going to take the police over there. And I begged them, please don't do this. Because I knew my dad had a lot of guns. I knew that if he got any, he was a fireman, if he was embarrassed by something like the police coming to the house saying, what's this with your daughter, you know, beat up to shreds, he would have taken that gun and killed us all. Probably the policeman too, including himself, because that's the energy. Now he broke his back in a motorcycle accident when he was 42 years old. So now he's become a little different, still kind of mean, but still he became a racer, on a wheelchair racer, and was sponsored by the VA, their first vet to be sponsored to go to the Boston Marathon. And he was like 40, 44 years old. He kept in shape. He pushed himself. And then mom died. She had died of failure to thrive because she was on prednisone for too long. And then he fell out of his wheelchair. He was already a paraplegic. Then he becomes a quad. So now he's laying there in the hospital, just so happy anytime any one of us would come to visit. And when I'd go, I'd notice I was having a good time. You know, we'd watch a movie, I'd bring food, we'd laugh, we'd talk. I really appreciate those last years of his life because it was something totally different. Now, my sister, you know, he took up a lot of my space, and I had children and stuff too, that things I had to do. But he was just so happy to have us there. And then when he died, it left. It just left all that burden that I held with being angry at him. I gave him no more power with that. Yeah. And I gave it with love because he ended up being a much better person. Mm-hmm. So if you hold on to that anger, like I told that woman who was in a relationship and had met this wonderful man, and why didn't she move forward? Because some guy 12 years ago really hurt her. I said, so what are you doing? You're still giving him power over you. You must forgive and let go and move forward. Yeah. If you hold on to anger, it will disintegrate you. It will eat you up inside.
It can manifest into a disease or God only knows what. But
did something happen to you when you were young that was pretty violent?
Me, yes.
I saw something violent. You don't have to discuss it. I just now saw.
No, I've shared it with everyone. I was molested when I was young.
Okay, I felt something had happened, like you were shocked.
Yeah.
Like what's happening?
Yeah.
That was hard for you.
It was very hard. And I had shared that with everyone because that was my biggest thing of forgiveness, where I confronted the person. This is many years later now. It wasn't anything during that time because that time I was just learning how to survive. That's why one of the reasons too, I tried to take my own life, and I just focused on surviving. And that wall was so, you couldn't penetrate that wall. Like I just, and so I shut off to everything, you know, and I think that's why another reason why I started so late with my awakening, because of this wall that I had created, that I was like, nobody's coming in here. Nobody's going to hurt me ever again. And it took me many, many years to work through all of that. And
was it a family person or?
Yes.
Okay. That's even more destructive.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, the forgiveness part of that, I remember the day sitting and confronting and telling that person, I forgive you.
Did they even acknowledge it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And they were, you know, apologetic and crying, and, you know, if they could take it back, they would. And, you know, they had some other stuff that they were going through, not to justify it by any means, but, you know, there was something that was going on there. So for me to be able to step into that space to say, I forgive you, it released something within me. And I just felt almost whole again.
Well,
And
you handed it over. You didn't have to hold it on to it
yes,
anymore.
no,
It gave you
no.
breathing room.
Yes. And so I always tell people, take your time. Take your time. You may not feel the need to forgive somebody right away. And it may take some time before you get to that point, but you
And
do
ask for
want to.
help if you can't seem to muster up the
Exactly.
feeling. Ask for help.
Yes. Yes, exactly. You don't want to
Because
hold on
there's
to
people
that.
I read that are still angry at dead people.
Mm,
That SOB, I hope he rots in hell. I said, no, you don't want to think that way.
yes.
It's not kumbaya. It's just taking care of yourself. Forgiving someone isn't giving them a license to go out and be, hey, good, she forgives me. It's taking care of yourself.
Yep.
It's taking your power back. You have no more power over me.
I always say it's the best gift that you can give yourself.
Remember, I don't know how long you've watched me, but we were all on the Trump train. Oh, that SOB. I can't wait till he gets his just desserts. And then one day my guide said, you know what? You need to tell everybody, shh, get off that Trump thing. Because our anger and our focus, it does no help. And it doesn't hurt him. It only hurts you. Because a lot of us, we were so angry. We were exhausted.
Yes.
People were reactive. Oh my God, how could he do this?
Bridget says, does one need to forgive a person to their face or do it on our own without them present to hear their side?
Well, my father was dead, so yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have to be right with you.
And I feel too, you don't have to say it to their face. I felt the need to do it because I wanted to find out why did you do this? I really wanted to confront. But you don't have to be in that space. You don't have to do that. You can write a letter. Who is it? Kelly, I think she's in here. Dozen Cats. She did this beautiful thing where she did her forgivenesses. She wrote them all out, and then she had a fire, and she burned them. So she wrote a letter to those, for forgiveness. So there's different ways and things that you can do, whatever feels right for you. You never want to put yourself in the position of like, oh, I have to confront this person, and it makes you feel uncomfortable or worse, or it feels too scary. Just do what feels right for you. But yeah, you don't have to face that person.
No.
So,
and they can even be dead and you can do it.
I can't believe we're already almost at the hour here.
Yeah. Hi, Ingen. There's my Lisa.
Anybody else? One last question that we have here. Does anyone have anything? Or Linda, is there anything that you want to share about your spirituality? I know you do. EQ was asking you about your event next year. Are there other events that you're looking at doing?
Yeah, well, I'm going to New York in September. I'm doing a Catskills. Never been there before. The guy that handles my events in Sedona recommends this place. So we'll check it out. We'll see how it goes. But I'm excited about 2023 because we're going to have Intuitive View there. We're going to have Freebird. We're going to have Mel and Jin Lin. And the Poet Laureate, Joy Harjo. She's a dear friend, and she's really wonderful. She's coming to speak to the crowd, and I'm going to do some E5 events, which is terrestrial events up there in Sedona. We had a group. Have you heard of Dr. Greer? We had a group of people, and my guide said, go ahead and do the E5. Well, I just barely have learned about it. And he does this whole chant thing. Dr. Greer does. So I'm like, how am I going to do this? So I made my own prayer, and I just said, okay, let's give this a whirl. So I did it. And they all of a sudden, I told everybody, I did the thing. It was cloudy. So even with military goggles, we wouldn't have seen a UFO. I said, pull out your phones and start taking pictures. We got UFOs. We got brilliant lights. We had an energy form that was near a tree that when you looked at the tree before, there's nothing there. And right after, this looks like this orange flame with an entity coming out of the middle of it.
Oh my God.
And it was spectacular. So we were all like, whoa. So we'll be doing that again.
Oh, that's going to be awesome. I love that.
He wants to know Mike, honey, you can't afford me. That's all I got to say. No,
oh, Aiden.
I don't know. Where do you live, Aiden? Because what I'm going to do next
He's in Texas.
Oh, yeah. Well, next year. My cousins are in McKinney, Texas. Next year, I'm going to do more private little soirees like this. I'm having one in Benicia, but that's already sold out. Sorry, you guys. Where I used to work at Angel Heart, and sort of a get together, only 50 people. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do something like that. You know, you can book like little event rooms and hotels, sort of a meet and greet sort of thing. It won't be the big overnight stay because, you know, some people can't afford that. These gigs, while you got to pay the venue, I have to pay the people that handle the details, you know, all that stuff. The travel, all that stuff. So it takes money, but I was afraid. I thought nobody's going to sign up. Shoot, I sold out. Bada bing, bada boom.
Wow.
So don't worry, I'll have events in small. I know Mel wants us to do a little soiree in Chicago. I have a very good friend, Mark Rhodes. If you all can say a prayer for him.
Yes.
Between David and his injury and Mark, he's ill right now, but he's a bigwig in the city of San Francisco. He's the one who handles the gay parades. He does all the events. And I'm sure he would find something for me in San Francisco, too.
Yeah. Yeah. And Debbie Bro does. Sonia does event planning. I do. It's so funny because I started planning. I'm doing a retreat in October. And after planning this and trying to get things together, I realized, because I was like, maybe I'll start offering services because I work for a nonprofit. That's my part-time that I'm doing the event work for.
Right.
And honestly, I'm getting tired. You know,
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
I've been doing this for years, and I'm just like, you know, I think I just want to show up.
Well,
have somebody else do the work.
Let me tell you something. Between all of us, we went through the COVID. So I had an event that got canceled twice, and a lot of people just wanted their money back. That was $70,000 of refunds. And then I had already paid the event because I had the money on me. Whoops. I had the money on me, and I thought, well, I'll go ahead and send them $70,000, which they said, thank you for sending it, because they were tight. Don't ask me how I came up with the money without refinancing my house. I was able to give everybody back their money. That was a couple of years of chaos, and I swore, this is it, never again. But then the last event worked out so well, and it ran so smoothly. I said, okay, well, I'll try. And the guy from Mago, you know what he said? Linda, we have some of the top, I don't know, Maharishis or whatever. They get these fantastic, they're so booked that you can't go and say, may I book there? They're too booked. And he said, do you know you're the only one that sells out in less than 48 hours?
That's wonderful.
I'm like, what? For real? He said, for reals.
That's awesome.
And they even make sure, because one year they didn't have my sweets out there. There was no cake after dinner. And even in my contract, it says, you know, it includes all meals, the prices, including your room and board and the meals and the teachers. And then it says, and special desserts for Linda's group. I said, you're damn straight. My group gets foods.
That's awesome. What is it's David and Mark, right? I want to add them to my prayer list, and I saw someone put the prayer for Mark as well.
Mark Rhodes, he's in San Francisco. In fact, I'm going to write him after we talk, because Mel's going to read him. And then it's David Cadmus. You guys might know him, DavidCadmus. Poor guy. But he talked to me. He called me from the hospital, and he's like, "What the?" But he's going to be okay. He's going to have his surgery tomorrow because he's on those blood thinners. You worry, you know.
Yeah. All right, Linda, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And thank you for everybody in chat for showing up. Appreciate you all. Big hugs. And I'll see you this.
Thanks for coming.
Yes, I'll see you this Friday morning, everyone, for coffee chat at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time.
That's my favorite thing. Do you know I only have one cup of coffee a day, and I live for it.
Well, actually, it's going to be tea time actually this week because I'm detoxing this week.
Oh,
So no caffeine. That's never
well,
fun.
I only have one. How many do you have?
I usually just do two
Okay, I
cups.
only have one. But
Yeah.
by the way, if I have to be NPO to do some blood work, I will notice it. I'll start feeling a headache over 1 cup of coffee.
Yeah. No, the caffeine is no joke. It's no joke.
Maxwell's. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.